The Red Golem. Chapter 2. Rebellion. Lens flares of booster ignitions flicker intermittently from the rebels in Saturn's rings. Dozens of outdated combat mechs take up positions on the larger asteroids. A nomad war mech pushes off from its cover, joining a nearby trooper security mech. The commandeered security mech's optics focus, while the head micro adjusts. Inside the cockpit, the trooper pilot magnifies his feed on the encroaching fleet, pinging the tactical information to other units. A bead of sweat runs down the trooper pilot's face as the nomad grips onto the rock beside him. An audio channel opens from the nomad. Fuck, that's the entire 8th Fleet. The trooper pilot looks at the enemy mechs mobilizing while grimacing. We should just surrender, the nomad pilot mutters. Angry, the trooper pilot bursts out. What do you think they do to traitors? The nomad pilot goes pale, realizing the gravity of their situation. The trooper pilot scoffs at his misdirected outburst, regretting what he said. Feeling guilty, the trooper pilot opens a visual channel and tries to reassure him. All we have to do is hold out until they hear our demands. The nomad pilot stays frozen, dwelling on the public executions he'd seen from Earth. The trooper pilot stares at the nomad pilot on the display, noticing he's barely an adult. You're in one of the newer machines, the trooper pilot continues. We'll need you out there. The trooper shakes the shoulder of the nomad. Trying to be brave, the nomad pilot nods nervously. After silently gulping, the nomad's pilot looks into the cam. You can count on me. The nomad lifts its flechette launcher and mounts it toward the enemy fleet. The trooper pilot smirks with a slow nod of acknowledgement. Remember, Saturn's rings are protected. They won't risk damaging them, which means they'll be forced to use their mechs, the trooper pilot explains. If we maintain our cover, we can chip away at them. We dig in and hang tough. They'll have no choice but to recognize our autonomy. Persuaded, the nomad pilot gains some of his confidence back. Besides, we have... The trooper pilot stops, leaning forward. Wide-eyed, he calls out on their secure channel. Incoming! A blue glint glows brightly as it approaches at rapid speed. How many? The commander of the Saturn forces queries. The trooper pilot rechecks his scans. Just one? A gray Special Forces frame comes into view. It has simple orange accents, complemented with radiant orange sensors and elements. The most striking detail was its wings, with additional azure-hued boosters. It was seemingly armed only with a rifle. The winged mech slows gracefully into a neutral stance, as white lights glare from it in a signal of truce. The Saturn forces chatter amongst themselves as some turn to their commander. The commander stands fast, skeptical. Reaching back, the winged mech magnetically guides the rifle onto its back, making a gesture of accommodation. The commander takes his time relaying instructions before standing atop a large chunk of ice. The commander's mech points defiantly before launching a single missile toward the winged mech. The winged mech ignores the warning shot as it explodes before it, creating a cloud of red smoke. Saturn forces cheer as some mechs raise their weapons, while others give the finger. A slash of energy appears from within the cloud, dispersing the smokescreen. The eyes of the winged mech glow brighter than before, and its fingers move once with impatience. A transmission is sent from the winged mech to the Saturn forces. This is your last opportunity to negotiate. You have 1 minute. The commander sneers while sending more instructions through his link. Negotiating at this point was futile, but he could help solidify their claim to sovereignty. The commander activated his indicator lights and pushed off towards the enemy. Eventually, using controlled burns, the commander's Hornet positions itself before the winged mech. Your terms? The winged mech pilot asks with a tone of annoyance. The commander studies the mech closely before speaking. We, the free people of Saturn, have endured the oppression of Earth for too long. You squandered our lifeblood while we fell into decay, with no means of enriching our lives. We shall take back our planet and our future. Forging. Enough. The winged mech's pilot interrupts sharply. Surrender or die. Those are my terms. The Valkyrie's wings unfold, revealing hidden particle cannons. The commander grits his teeth, using his link, instantly opens all of his mech's missile bays. A missile lock rings in the cockpit, but despite his intentions, the missiles aren't launching. Confused, the commander squeezes the manual trigger several times to no effect. The Hornet reaches back, pulling out a beam sword that is somehow able to activate. Lunging forward with a boost, he does a wide swing into the Valkyrie. With a quick motion, the Valkyrie grabs the forearm of the Hornet. The beam sword suddenly deactivates. The Valkyrie's eyes glow bright as it uses its left hand to chop off the Hornet's other arm. Energy blades crackle from the Valkyrie's fingers as it systematically dismembers the Hornet. The commander tries pressing the self-destruct button to no avail. Unable to even eject, the commander desperately tries everything he can. Reluctantly, the Saturn forces hold their positions as ordered by the commander beforehand, but some have to be restrained. The Valkyrie stabs into the chassis of the Hornet. Using tubules, it starts to drain its power plant. Boosters on the Valkyrie's wings flare, launching it forward. Using the Hornet as a shield, it quickly closes the gap. Paralyzed with hesitation, the Saturn forces begin arguing on if they should fire. Taking charge, the trooper pilot calls out, "We can't hit the commander. Hold your fire until we have a clear shot." Panicked, one of the Saturn mechs opens fire with a Gatling gun. A nearby ally slams down on the barrels, causing the explosive rounds to send shrapnel fragments into both mechs. The Valkyrie spins, easily dodging the bullets, and uses all of its boosters to engage, flinging the Hornet's chassis into the group. With a flip, it draws its railgun and aims for the Hornet's shoulder smoke launcher. The projectile triggers bursts of multicolored smoke that saturate the area. "Open fire!" the trooper yells, as the Saturn forces, unobscured by the smoke, let loose. Using high-speed thrusts, the Valkyrie masterfully evades the barrage of munitions. From a distance, a bright blue gleam darts into the muzzle flashes, followed by multiple explosions. Forming a claw, the Valkyrie ignites 5 thin blades from its fingertips, slashing another obsolete mech into shreds, then boosting upwards in a spiral. Making a knife hand to form a combined edge, the Valkyrie destroys 2 mechs in one stroke, picking off further targets with charged railgun blasts. "Stay in cover," the trooper pilot shouts, as the Valkyrie eerily turns directly at him. Light blue electricity emanates from the railgun's barrel as it fully charges to gold. Suddenly, the Valkyrie flies back, avoiding a volley of flechettes fired from the Nomad. The Valkyrie then shoots off the arm of the Nomad, causing the launcher to tumble away. The trooper flanks around the back of the Valkyrie, shooting shotgun slugs into its back. The slugs burst apart as they activate the shimmering shields of the Valkyrie. With a quick turn, the Valkyrie closes in, disabling the shotgun's firing system with its countermeasures. The trooper jets away narrowly, ducking the quick strikes of the Valkyrie. Going from cover to cover, the trooper pulls out a lever from the side of the shotgun, slam-firing several shells as the Valkyrie tries to catch it. A flood of missiles fly toward the Valkyrie, as many Saturn mechs converge from all sides. "Don't get too close," the trooper pilot warns as they pummel the Valkyrie's shields. The missiles connect but bounce off the Valkyrie's shields before exploding instantly. The blinding flashes create a momentary silhouette of the Valkyrie, veiling its wings as they fold up. Particle beams shoot out in 4 directions, destroying the targets simultaneously. Railgun fire tears through the others as the trooper reloads to make his final stand. Peeking out, the trooper shoots all of his remaining ammo into the stationary Valkyrie without penetrating its shields. Lowering its wings, the Valkyrie holsters its railgun as the trooper stands atop the asteroid with a plasma dagger drawn. The shields of the Valkyrie lower as it ascends to meet the trooper in melee combat. With a sudden thrust, the trooper stabs at the Valkyrie, causing the Valkyrie to counter with a jab. Attempting a boost-assisted kick, the trooper is lifted by the Valkyrie, who hurls it into a large chunk of ice. The trooper tries to recover, but is slammed further into the ice by the Valkyrie. Pushing against the trooper's back, the Valkyrie rips the left arm off, using the arm as a weapon. The Valkyrie sweeps the trooper's legs and proceeds to beat it with its severed arm. Seeing an opening, the trooper stabs into the Valkyrie's chest, causing a superficial gash. With a smile, the Valkyrie's pilot crushes the trooper's remaining forearm. Discarding the arm, the Valkyrie grips into the trooper. While trying to knee the Valkyrie, the trooper's head is also grasped. With a fluid motion, the Valkyrie tears off the trooper's head, casting it aside. As the Valkyrie reaches down for the barely exposed ejection pod, a warning blares. Instantaneously, the Valkyrie reacts by blocking the flechettes with the trooper's back. The darts pierce deeply into the trooper, eviscerating its pilot. With blood pouring from his mouth, the trooper pilot is barely able to speak. "Get out of here, kid." Horrified, the Nomad's pilot gets tunnel vision and doesn't see the particle laser coming. The flechette launcher blows apart, flinging the Nomad into a cluster of silicates. With the last of its pilot's strength, the trooper breaks the inactive dagger against the Valkyrie's superior armor. Taking the broken dagger, the Valkyrie plunges it deep into the trooper's cockpit. Kneeing the trooper away, its hand begins to shine. Cleaving the trooper in two, the Valkyrie pushes through, gliding to the crippled Nomad. Stabbing into the Nomad's side, the Valkyrie drains all of its remaining power. The Nomad's pilot begins to sob as the cockpit loses all power. Loud crumpling noises are heard as the Valkyrie's hand is removed from the Nomad. The 19-year-old can't contain his tears as he awaits his death in the darkness. Silence. Unbearable silence. Nothing happened for many minutes. It felt like an eternity before he dared to even try for the emergency release. Using his helmet lamp, he slowly pulled the lever, decompressing the cockpit. As the cockpit hatch opened from the back, he pulled himself out, floating to the top of the Nomad. The Valkyrie had moved on and was actively decimating their lines of defense. He couldn't take his eyes off the havoc he was witnessing. How was it even possible? The defenses they had intended for the enemy fleet were dispatched effortlessly. Turret emplacements, mines, asteroid hammers, and weaponized mining ships were all destroyed by a single foe. He couldn't watch as the last of their mechs were destroyed. Sobbing again, he begged forgiveness from his comrades, facing the trooper's remains. He cried loudly into his helmet. His thoughts of his family filled his mind. Who would take care of them now? He had joined the movement for the sake of his brother and sisters. But now, they had lost their sole provider, knowing he would soon be captured and killed. Behind him, the enemy fleet was taken off standby. They moved into position above Saturn's main refinery station. Several squads of newer generation mechs were dispatched to secure the area. It wasn't long before they found him. One of the advanced war mechs hovers above the Nomad. Soldiers from a nearby transport began to clear the wreckage. The mech raised both its guns, pointing to a small nearby crevice. The soldiers fired warning shots as they commanded him to come out. With his palms open and trembling, he slowly surrendered himself. He was arrested and sent back to the fleet for interrogation. The Valkyrie stands on the bow of the fleet's capital ship, looking down at the now seized refinery station. A prototype mech lands behind the Valkyrie, walking to the edge before speaking. "We are ready to proceed with the operation, sir." The vessel. The Valkyrie pilot inquires about a ship that tried to escape from the station. "No survivors, sir." "Good. Secure the prisoners and plant the charges." The prototype mech turns as its pilot speaks. "Understood, sir." "Your new model. Golem, was it?" "Yes, sir." The Valkyrie pilot is examining the Golem's classified schematics and test data. "I look forward to your results." The Golem nods before leaving. "Thank you, Colonel." The Golem soars down to resume the mission. The unnamed colonel raises the Valkyrie's hand, as if to clutch Saturn. Outlined by Saturn, the Valkyrie's silhouette is zoomed in on until the scene is enveloped by its darkness.